Hey everyone, Mrs. Ragstad here. This is a video for Chapter 8 that will explain how to do the pre-lab for the volume and density lab. And basically, in this video, I'm only going to talk about the volume portion. And we are going to measure a number of metal objects. We're going to measure their volumes in two different ways and compare them. And so the first way involves simply measuring the dimensions. And we're going to use an instrument called a digital caliper. It looks like this. And can slide over like so. And it's basically like a ruler, but it measures small lengths or widths or heights or distances very accurately. So I have a couple of types of digital calipers. Let's see, this one might be backwards. We're going to be measuring in millimeters. Right now I have this set at inches. So there's a button here that says millimeter/inch/fraction. And I want to make sure that that is set in millimeters. And then the next thing I want to do is make sure that when these, let's see if I can put this over here, these claws right here are completely closed all the way. I want to make sure that my reading is 0. So I'm going to press the 0 button. Okay, make sure it's not negative, not anything like that. So when it says 0.00, then I'm ready to measure. Okay, now let me introduce you to some of the pieces that we're going to measure. I have two cylinders, otherwise known as rods. So this is the aluminum cylinder. You can see it's got a circle on the end. And then we also have the brass rod, also a cylinder. It's much bigger, and it just looks, you can see the color difference, okay? So remember the equation for the volume of a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height. And pi times the radius squared, that just comes from the area of the circle. And that's the circle right there. So I'm going to put that right up close. There's our circle. And then the height is going this way. Even if I have my cylinder going sideways, it's still the height. This distance right here. So let me show you how you're going to measure those lengths. So again, I have to make sure this is zeroed. So the height, I'm going to take my caliper and I'm going to make it long enough, and then I'm going to close it in. So it's just snug, you don't want to break it. And this is measuring about 89.89 millimeters. See how accurate that is, how precise that is? Okay, so that's my height. I do want to change my millimeters into centimeters. So in your notebook, you're going to have one column where you're going to write down all the metal pieces, all their measurements in millimeters that you get from the digital caliper, and then all the measurements in centimeters. And if you'll remember from the King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk procedure, we can just move the decimal point one place over to go from millimeters to centimeters. Okay, so if this measured about 90 millimeters, it's 9 centimeters because I'm moving the decimal point over by 1. Okay, now let's talk about the other dimension we have to measure. So if you look again at the circle, we need the radius to find the area of this circle. However, I don't know where the center of this circle is. I mean, it's kind of small. I'm going to put this right up to the camera. There's no dot there telling me where the radius is, where the center is, because remember, for the radius, we have to measure from the center out to the edge. So because I don't have that information, I'm going to measure the diameter instead. The diameter is much easier to remember, or to measure actually, to measure accurately. And to do that, I'm going to take my digital caliper and just go like this. Okay, because that's the distance all the way across the circle. And once I have the diameter, I just divide it by 2, and that gets me the radius. So there's going to be some calculations involved. You're going to have to do some math. Okay, same story for this cylinder, it's just smaller. So again, brass rod, aluminum rod. Now there's some other metal pieces that you're going to need. This is the carbon steel bar